Hey guys, Chris Dunn here, aka the Boogie Man. On this episode of Boogie Tech, this badass Ford 9-inch going in Mama Boogie. I'm gonna walk you through me building this badass rear end. It's a 9-inch, it's an old housing. We sandblasted it up. It's gonna have our ladder bar brackets on, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Something else we're gonna do a little bit different on this rear end, and we're gonna MIG it together. We're not gonna TIG it. This goes in, my personal street rod, which is Mama Boogie. And you don't always got to TIG things. TIG takes a lot of time. And if this was going in, a 1,000 horsepower drag car, we'd be TIGging it. But since it's going in a street rod, we're going to MIG it up. But I'm going to walk you through how to MIG it, making little bitty MIG welds, and it won't warp it so bad. So stay tuned, hold on, here we go.
All right, guys. The first thing you're going to do if you're going to MIG, well, MIG anything really, but if you're going to MIG something and you want it to look really pretty and you want to do really little welds like we're fixing to do, you got to get your machine dialed in and test it. So I've got scrap metal here, and what I've been doing is playing with the heat and the wire speed to get this little bitty weld that I want, which you can see right here, this little bitty weld. And I'm kind of happy where it's at. It's hard to do it on thick stuff like this and get it dialed in, but I'm pretty close with it. So we're going to go ahead and weld up these right here. Now, these are the ladder bar brackets we'll go through. And here it is. We sell these brackets right here, all right? And we sell them for a 3-inch, and we sell them for a 3 1/4 tube. And what these are our sets we sell, and you can use them for any way. You can use them with ours, or you can just use them with regular Heims and regular bars. But anyway, you can move the ladder bar up and down in 3 positions on the rear end, and that will change the hit and how it reacts. Just not just moving the bar up and down on the car. This here makes a big difference where this ladder bar is attached to the rear end. So this is a set of brackets that we sell. We sell a full kit. It's also got the shock brackets that go on the back. Moves up and down. You can do a single. You can do doubles. What we're fixing to do now is when you get these from us, they have a plate welded on them, is a doubler to make this 3/8 for strength on both sides. And they're TIGged on is what they are. And that's what I'm doing now. I got my little fixture here, and I'm fixing to run a bead around all of these for this 9-inch. So I have not done this, and I haven't really introduced this kit yet. I've got some of these kits out. Man, they're just nice, clean kits, as you'll see. Because we're going to put a ladder bar system under Mama Boogie. So you'll see more about it, but I'll build up a kit and show y'all exactly with using our 1.5 by 3 ladder bars, trailing arms. I call them trailing arms because I think they look cool and they look like trailing arms. We're going to put a set on Mama Boogie. Now, we're going to make us a set, and we're going to show you some other stuff we sell. We sell pre-made bungs, rectangle bungs, that you can buy from us to put in 1.5 by 3, 1/8 wall, okay, or 11 gauge tubing. You slip it in, TIG it in, plug weld it, and you can make your own ladder bars, and you make them as long as you want. Like I said, we sell I'll show it later. I'll show it in this video too, maybe a little bit. But we sell, well, you'll see it when we build the ladder bars, which we're not going to do this video, be the next. We're going to build a set of ladder bars for it. So, but it's a rectangle bung, and you'll see it. We got stuff that people just don't know. And I really ain't pushed it, but we're going to start pushing it. So we have all kinds of brackets that I've come up with and designed that works good. We got ladder bar brackets that go on the car that are multi-adjustable. We sell a lot of that stuff, believe it or not to the gasser world, because the heads up gasser organizations have outlawed them because they work so good. Basically, we sell them to the no time guys. We got a couple of customers in the lower part of South Carolina, the lower part of the state, that are buying them up left and right, a couple of builders. So that works pretty good, but we got some cool brackets that I want to show y'all, and we'll take some pictures of and go from there. So now what we're going to do right quick, I'm going to put my old gloves on here. We're going to see how good we can make a weld around this, and then we'll get back to you after I weld them all up. I could fast forward it, but who cares? I'm just going to cut the camera off after I weld them all up and show them back to you. Because if everybody's like me, they ain't got time to be watching videos. That's the reason I try to keep these videos as short as I can so people can, get through it and not get bored. Thanks, guys. All right, so I did this. I just want to show you this right quick before I cut the video off, start welding them up. That's how it turned out. I just want a little weld there, and I'm going to go around it. Kind of looks more like a factory car built, and that's what I'm going to do is these little welds all around this. So hold on, guys. We'll get back to you once we get them all welded up. All right, guys, we've got our brackets welded up. As you can see here, they're MIG'd up. Now, there's something I done here because we're sending this off to powder coat. I've got some 5,000ths, actually it's about 6,000 shim stock. So I doubled it up to 12,000ths, slid it, put it in here, and snugged it up. Because time that ladder bar gets powder coated and all this gets powder coated, you want some room to slip it in there. Okay? So these are ready technically to go back on. We use these just temp bolts, and the actual spacer we put in the ladder bars is what we put in here to get it spaced out right. Now, this is just an old 9-inch housing I had on the back of the property laying in some scrap metal that I'm glad that I went and got. And then last week we was blasting, so we blasted it up. Pretty good shape. This is just a hot rod. I got brand new ones from Moser next door, but why really use them? One reason we're in the industrial shop is we have this big Blanchard ground table, and I like to build the rear ends on them because it's perfectly flat and we can check everything. This is probably the most handiest tool I've ever had for messing with a 9-inch rear end. And this is an ICT cutting jig. Basically, this goes on like this on a 9-inch Ford rear end. You snug it up and it gives you the center. It gives you the center of the pinion if you want to pull a string. Like when we go do Mama Boogie, we'll put on there and pull a string to the transmission and know where everything's at. It also gives you the notch out for the axles, so you can measure from here and here and get your axle length. That has got to be the handiest tool. I have 2 of them for a 9-inch. So look them up. They're ITCs, 9-inch, and they're just for building 9-inch Ford rear ends. It's just like the coolest thing ever. Anyway. So look them up, get you one. They're just too handy. They done figured it all out. Now we have our axles already. With using this thing, I didn't even have to cut the rear end down, and I figured out my axles. I knew I was going to use these ends, which this is a new set of, which we blasted them. They'd got rusty. This is big bearing, new style Ford is what we're going to use here. Now we've turned this lip off because I don't really want that. So I'm going flat onto the thing. So we've got the rear end. I marked it all and then cut it, and I actually can cut it in our regular vertical bandsaw. So, or excuse me, our horizontal bandsaw. So I done cut it down to size, and they wasn't any showing that. I mean, y'all can figure that out. You can use a portaband or a saw or what you can, whatever you can. So I'm going to mock this thing back up right now to the measurements and get back to you, and we'll start tacking brackets on and doing all that. Because one thing we do is we'll weld all these brackets on before we put the ears on. The last thing we do is put ears on, because if you weld on this tube anywhere, it's going to draw. And the most important thing is getting them ears on lined up with the center section. It don't care if an axle tube's forward or back or up or down. All it matters is that center section has got it. Them ears are lined up perfectly in line with the center section. So I'll get right back to you here in a few minutes. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, we're back. Now, I've slid on the brackets. This is a piece of 5/8 all thread I like to use because you can adjust it with nuts and get this spacing correct. Okay? I've took my angle finder and I zeroed out the table. All right? Then I put it up here and I've got it perfectly at 90 degrees, which means this and this surface here are 90 degrees, and that's what you want, okay? If you want to add some angle, that's up to you. Now, let me tell you how neat this thing is, all right? To basically get this thing centered up, all you do is hook that slot, 16, dead on 16 inches to the outside edge. Hook the slot, dead on 16 inches to the outside edge. Now what that's done is that has got our brackets dead center of the pinion. That's what's so cool about this thing. It makes it so much easier. Now, something that I haven't showed you, that I will show you, I've got this thing a little bit tacked, is this right here. Which all of these brackets that we make have these 1.25 inch holes blown in them. And what that's for is another set of lineups. Basically, and I believe that in there, and that's for strength. So this 1.25 inch DOM tube stays in there, all right? And I'm gonna end up putting me a little nice little gusset down there, and now I've got all the brackets tied together with the rear end housing. So all of these brackets come with them in it, so you can slip them together. If you want to add one here and down, you can. So, you know, that's just something that we add to these brackets. That when I designed them, I wanted to have places to put bracing in them. So what I'm going to do right quick is I'm going to go ahead and weld these on, weld all of this up. May even go ahead and make my gusset, because like I said, the last thing I'm going to do is put ears on. Now, I am going to weld in like a filler here. That's not going to affect anything. And I'm going to weld a panhard bracket up on here. That's not going to affect anything. The tubes is where it draws the most. When you run a weld around there, it's going to draw that tube this way, this way, this way, or this way. So you can weld on this housing and technically probably not draw the rear end around much. It's going to be these tubes that's going to cost you alignment. So probably going to take me a good hour to weld this up. So we're just going to click the camera off and we'll return back to you. And hopefully we got some welds worth showing. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, we're back. I've got it all welded. These are welded. The tube's welded. Pretty much. And I'll show you some of the welds. Like I said, I wanted this super little bitty MIG weld. Now, there's balls all over it, and we'll get all that out and just prepping and cleaning. I think I'm going to go ahead and put this gusset on, and then the next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and put the ears on and show you all of that. So I've got an old 9-inch cast iron housing that I had modified that'll bolt into here, and we'll slide the rod in, and we'll put the ears on, and we'll have this bad boy wrapped up today, and we'll be ready to start dry fitting it next week in Mama Boogie. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, we're back. All right, I have welded this ear on and this ear on. I just got through welding this ear. Still has the jig in it. I'll let the jig stand for 30 to 45 minutes. I did already on the other side. And to try to keep warping down. See, I kind of believe warping's going to warp, but, you know, in some people's mind, it actually helps. So basically, this is what I got. I got an old cast iron chunk that's got bushings in it that I tightened up right here and right here. And this thing's got an 1.5 inch ground rod that goes through with fixture plates, or should I say little fixture bushings that go into the actual cup. So this thing's together. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you something what I was talking about of how the tube's so far out of center. Now, lucky enough, it's not as bad. It's not, you know, this side looks better than this side, but it don't matter. Wherever this rod's through is all that matters. We don't care if this tube ain't in the center of this ear, because we just ain't going to take the time to fix that, because it's just a looks thing. I mean, as far as we're concerned, these ears, the center of these ears has got to be center of the center section. So what I'm going to do is tear this thing down, go get the axles, pop the axles in once this cools, put our jig up there and show y'all how this works. And also I'll show you how screwed up, you know, this is the reason you just can't take these ears off and put the ears back on. A lot of people do that and don't understand. And then they'll go and weld all their brackets on after they done put their ears on. And I'm fixing to show you how screwed up these tubes are and will be pulled around different from the center line of the this center section here. So hold on. This is what I'm talking about, guys. People just don't know. You'll look right here. See how bad this is? And I've seen people on here just cut them off and put them back on. And I don't know if this is crucial, but you can see right here that this tube is drawn, moved, and everything else. You get over here, it's not as bad. It's still forward. See that? And down here, if you look back here, that's what I'm talking about, where people, you see them, they just cut the ear off and stick it right back on before they weld all their brackets, just shortening one up. Don't understand. All this welding pulls this around. When you get these things are pulled around. So always do everything you need to do and put your ears on last, because that's the deal. Because if you'll look right here, and I just measured it, that shaft's dead center of that ear. So, you know, we don't care about where the housing's at. We care about, all we care about is where is the ears in relation to the center section. All right, guys, one thing I'm going to show you right quick before I put the axles in. This is my fixture. What I've done is I've loosened them bolts up, which just takes a few thousandths off of it so it'll work right. If this is right, and this is what I'm trying to say, I'm going to slide it out, the shaft out. I can take my hand and pop it right there, and it comes out. And if I slide that real easy, it slides right into that end. That means that that ear is perfectly in line with that center section. And that's more crucial than anything. Okay, guys, I've slid the axles in. Man, they fit perfect. I love it. I got a piece of pipe that I make here. Just kind of keeps them together without a center section in it. We're going to put this on here, and we're going to check. This is our sheet that we fill out to send to Moser for our axles. So what we wanted was an overall from bolt surface to bolt surface 51 inches. Actually, the actual bolt surface is 52 and a half. I take 3/4 off of each side on purpose. So a total inch and a half to makes it 51. And the reason I do that, and let me explain why, is time you put a rotor on here, it eats up about another 3/16 to 1/4. So now you're at a half or less than a half. Well, I have no problem. I ordered this with a little extra long studs for a reason. It's easier to put spacers on here and space that tire out than it is trying to get the tire to come back in. So I'd rather run a 1/4 inch spacer here to a 1/2 inch spacer behind the wheel to get that tire perfect in that wheel well, the way I want it. So I always order them 1.5 inches shy because 1/4 from a rotor, take that away, so now I'm a 1/2 inch too short. But it's always easier to put spacers than it is trying to take away from the rear end. Now, let's take our tape measure, which is right over here, excuse me, and let's measure and see if it worked out right. All right, bolt surface to bolt surface is dead on 51. That's great. Now, let's see how close our flange is to the center of our pinion. 25 and a half, dead on. 25 and a half, dead on. So this is what's neat about this thing. You can do all this work. So we know now the pinion's in the center of the flanges. Let's just, for shits and giggles, flange to the edge of our bracket. 9 3/8. Let's check the other side. 9 3/8. So this one little tool here on a 9-inch just makes the world of difference to make this work out right. So this rear end's done, guys. This thing is ready to be tore down and go mocked up in Mama Boogie. So I appreciate you guys watching this episode with me. I appreciate the previous video, which went over 11,000 views as I'm videoing this on, you know, us dynoing the Boogie Man engine. Man, you guys rock. We were over 3,100 subscribers. Without you guys, the channel don't grow. So we really need you guys to tell your friends, share it out if you can. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Chris Dunn, a.k.a. the Boogie Man.